Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. People say you always feel the exact second something shifts. I didn't feel it. I heard it. We were standing on a rooftop in downtown Denver. Northline Technologies had rented the space for a casual Friday mixer. Denise had insisted I come. "It'll be good for us," she said. She wore the blue dress she usually saved for important meetings. She never wore it for me anymore. Across the patio, she stood with her phone angled close to her chest, shoulders turned slightly away. A soft laugh slipped out of her, quick, private, not meant for anyone else. I hadn't heard that sound in months. "You having that much fun?" I asked, stepping closer. She lowered the phone fast. "Just a message from Adrian. He sent a dumb meme." "Adrian Keller?" I said. "Yes, my boss. Relax." A moment later, Adrian joined us. His smile was smooth, practiced, the kind men use when trying to make a point without saying it. "Victor, right?" he said, offering his hand. I shook it once. "That's right. Your wife is one of my best people," Adrian said. "Couldn't run half my projects without her." Denise glanced at him, and for a second something silent passed between them. Not business. Something else. Something warm. "Always glad to hear I'm valuable," she said, touching her phone again. On the drive home, Denise looked out the window. I kept my eyes on the road. "You seemed close with him tonight," I said. She exhaled through her nose. "You're imagining things, Victor. He's just my boss." "Then why do your texts make you smile like that?" Her jaw tightened. "So now I'm not allowed to laugh?" "That's not what I said. Every time I have a good day, you think it has something to do with another man." "That's because lately it does." Silence filled the car until I pulled into our building. Later, in the middle of the night, I woke to the sound of the bathroom door clicking shut. A whisper floated down the short hallway. "No, I miss you too. We have to be careful." I didn't knock. I didn't interrupt. I just listened. Something in our marriage had broken, and staying silent suddenly felt like the only honest move left. The next morning, Denise moved through the kitchen like a visitor. No kiss, no real eye contact. She poured coffee, checked her phone, and said, "I have an early start today. Big push on the Dawson project." "You'll be late again?" I asked. "Probably. Don't wait up." She was already halfway out the door. A few hours later, I was at a job site replacing old wiring in a small retail space when my phone buzzed. It was Zayn Brooks, a guy I'd worked with for years. "You still married to Denise?" he asked. "Yes." "Why?" "Just asking. I thought I saw her car parked outside the Meridian Hotel last Thursday. Figured maybe she was meeting a client or something." "The Meridian Hotel. Downtown. Expensive. Not a place Northline usually booked for meetings." "She told you that?" I asked. "Nah, just thought it was strange. That's all." I hung up and finished the job in silence. Back home, the apartment felt hollow. Her laptop sat on the kitchen table, lid half closed. A familiar ping echoed through the room. Another notification. This time, I didn't ignore it. The screen lit up with a message preview from Adrian Keller. That night was worth every risk. I opened the laptop. There was no password. Slack was still signed in. A private channel sat open. No team names, no work updates, just two people talking like they belonged to each other. "You should have stayed longer. Someone would notice." "I don't care anymore." "I do. That's why I hide you." Dates matched nights she claimed were packed with deadlines. Times lined up with the bathroom whispers. There were hotel addresses pasted into conversations, just in case, jokes about checkout times, rooms with good views. I scrolled without shaking. No panic, no anger. The truth arrived quietly, like cold air through an open window. The front door opened an hour later. Denise walked in, cheeks pink, hair perfect. "Long day," she said. "Where was the meeting?" I asked, closing the laptop but memorizing everything. "Level 4, she replied without thinking. Northline had no level 4. "Hard day?" I said. "Yeah, exhausting." She smiled, careless. I stepped aside, let her pass, and watched her disappear down the hallway. In that moment, I didn't feel broken. I felt clear. The marriage I believed in wasn't ending. It had already been replaced by a lie. And I finally knew exactly where to aim. I didn't say a word to Denise the next day. I didn't raise my voice or change my routine. I moved through the hours like normal, but every detail locked itself into place. Patterns started to show up once I looked closely. Her calendar filled with strategy reviews and client syncs. Her credit card showed charges near the same downtown block. Ride receipts landed in her email from streets she'd never needed before. Everything pointed in one direction. That evening, I told her I had an emergency call for work. "Another job?" she asked, fixing her earrings. "Someone's lights went out," I said. She barely nodded. "I'll be out late, too." I waited a few seconds after she left. Then I followed. I kept distance, 3 cars back. She drove straight toward downtown and pulled in front of the Meridian Hotel. Adrian stepped out from the other side of the street. He smiled the second he saw her. She smiled back before she even thought about it. No rush, no shame, just comfort. They walked inside together. I didn't move. I sat in my truck. After a minute, I pulled out my phone and took one picture, clear enough to show them side by side, close enough to remove doubt. Then, I placed the phone on the seat and waited. I wasn't stalking. I was documenting. Over the next few days, I collected only what mattered. Screenshots, dates, locations, nothing extra. No emotions attached to it. Just facts, clean and straight. Denise came home each night acting normal. She talked about office stress, deadlines, people being difficult. She never once mentioned Adrian, not even his name. "I'm tired," she said one night, stripping off her jacket. "Long day with your team?" I asked. "Yeah, non-stop." I watched her walk away and wondered how easily the truth hid behind a simple sentence. She valued one thing more than our marriage. Not love, not loyalty, her image, her spotless career, her perfect reputation inside those glass walls of Northline. That's when I understood something important. If I was going to end this, it wouldn't be loud. It would be exact. And it would happen where her world actually lived. I didn't rush it. The next morning, I went to a supply store and bought the plainest brown box I could find. It looked like it carried nothing important, which made it perfect. At home, I laid everything out on the kitchen table. Printed emails, hotel receipts, the single photo of Denise and Adrian entering the Meridian together, screenshots from Slack where he called her worth the risk, and she told him, "I'll delete this right after reading." No dramatic captions, no insults, no explanation, just evidence. I placed the papers inside the box carefully, as if I were packing glass instead of betrayal. I taped it shut. No note, no return address, no name. Only one line on the front, written in simple block letters. Denise, personal, Northline Technologies. I walked it down to the shipping counter myself. The woman behind the desk weighed it, printed a label, and slid it toward the pickup bin. "Need a tracking number?" she asked. "No," I said. Once the box left my hands, there was nothing left to do. Just waiting. That morning, Denise left the apartment humming, energy high. "Big day," she said, fixing her laptop bag on her shoulder. "We're presenting to the board." "That's so," I replied. She smiled. "I've worked months on this." "Good luck," I said, and meant something very different. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. "Did you send something to my office?" I stared at the screen and set it back down without answering. Another message followed. "Something weird arrived here. A box with my name on it. No sender." Silence from me. I sat at the kitchen table. I imagined curious hands flipping pages, familiar eyes scanning words that were never meant for them. Midday passed. Then another vibration. A missed call, then another. Then just one last text. "Victor, what did you do?" I leaned back in the chair and closed my eyes. For the first time in a long time, the apartment felt perfectly quiet. And somewhere across the city, her perfect world was coming apart, one page at a time. The front door flew open just after sunset. Denise didn't knock. She didn't greet me. She stood there, breathing hard, eyes red, hands shaking. "What did you send to my office?" she demanded. I stayed seated. "You already know." Her voice cracked. "Everyone read it, Victor. Everyone. Human resources, my team, the board. Do you understand what you did?" "I sent the truth," I replied. "Nothing more." She stepped closer. Adrian was dragged into a conference room. I was told not to leave my desk. People were whispering as they walked past me like I was invisible. She ran a hand through her hair, pacing the room. "They're opening an investigation," she said. "They took my badge. They told me to go home and wait for instructions. Victor, my entire career is finished. You finished it, I said calmly. I just made sure it was seen. Her eyes flooded. You could have talked to me. You could have asked me. Instead, you humiliated me. You humiliated us when you walked into that hotel, I answered. I saw you. She froze. You followed me? I watched the truth walk in without shame. A long silence filled the space between us. When she spoke again, her words came out smaller. It didn't mean anything, she said. It was stupid. I was bored. I was angry. I wasn't thinking. You were thinking every time you lied, I replied. I stood for the first time and went to the bedroom. I pulled out a bag I'd already packed. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow, I told her. Her hand reached out. No, Victor, please. I stepped away. This isn't emotional. This is final. She sank onto the couch as I headed for the door. You destroyed my future, she whispered behind me. I paused, not turning around. No, I protected mine. And then I walked out, leaving the echo of her choices behind me. I moved into a small one-bedroom above an auto shop on the east side of town. Concrete floors, bare walls. It wasn't comfortable, but it was clean, quiet, honest. Denise didn't call the first few days, not because she didn't want to. She was too busy putting out fires. Northline Technologies suspended. By the end of the week, she was fired due to conduct violations. Adrian Keller resigned to avoid public termination, but his name spread through the company and beyond anyway. Denise got no mercy. Her name was dragged through every department, every project archive, every recruiter's inbox. Zion called me while I was at a job repairing wiring in an old bakery building. You see the news? He asked. No. Northline cleaned house. Keller's gone. Denise, too. I figured, I said, tightening a screw. What else? People are talking. They're saying her career in tech here is finished. I stayed quiet. That part wasn't mine anymore. 2 weeks later, my lawyer set a meeting. Denise sat across from me in a small office, shoulders hunched, eyes tired. She didn't look like the woman who used to dominate a room. No shouting, no drama, no children, no fights over money. The apartment was listed for sale. Assets were split in half. It was all business. I never meant for any of this, she said as she signed the papers. I know you didn't mean to lose, I replied. You just didn't think about the cost. Her hand hovered as she reached the final line. I loved you, Victor. You loved the comfort, I said. There's a difference. 3 months later, it was official. Divorced. No ceremony, no conversation. Just a final stamp and a clean cut. Denise moved to a smaller place somewhere outside the city. She sent messages at first. Apologies, regret, confusion, anger. I didn't open them after the second one. I blocked her number and deleted the thread. Not because I hated her, because she no longer had a place in my life to speak. Work didn't let me overthink, and I didn't object. I filled my days with cables, panels, broken switches, and silent walls that needed fixing. There was something honest about it. You saw the problem, you corrected it. No pretending, no secrets. Zion started passing me extra jobs after hearing about the divorce. You keep busy, you stay sane, he said one morning as we unloaded tools from his truck. I'm not trying to stay sane, I replied. I'm just not trying to repeat anything. One of those jobs took me to a small neighborhood cafe on the edge of downtown. Half of the lights flickered. The owner, Hannah Price, stood behind the counter watching me test the panel. Is it bad? She asked. Bad enough to fix, I said. Good enough to save. That sounds like a personal motto or something, she replied. Not mine, just the wirings. She smiled, set a cup of coffee down beside me without asking, then walked back to the kitchen. Simple gesture, no play in it, no pressure. The job stretched into a couple of weeks of upgrades and safety checks. Each time I came in, Hannah kept the air light and direct. You ever take a day off? She asked once. Don't see the point. You ever sit still? No reason to. One evening, after I finished up and started packing my tools, she leaned against the counter. You're always so focused. Makes a place feel safer. I just don't like loose ends, I replied. Her eyes held mine for a second longer than needed. People should be like wiring, either connected right or replaced. That line stayed with me. We didn't talk about the past. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need explanations. And for the first time in a long while, neither did I. Days turned into weeks, and something inside me settled. No rush coming home to someone who betrayed me. No tension in the walls, just steady work and a growing sense that I was finally standing in my own space again. One night, walking back to my apartment, I passed the Meridian Hotel. My eyes touched the building, then moved on without hesitation. It felt like crossing a line and not looking back. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel proud. I just felt gone from it. And that was new. And that was good. Almost a year passed before I heard her name again. I was sitting outside the cafe. Hannah was inside, counting the day's register. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I don't expect an answer. I just need you to know I lost everything. The job offers stopped. I had to leave Denver. I'm staying with a cousin outside Pueblo. I don't blame you anymore. I finally understand what I did to you. I knew it was Denise. I read the message once. I didn't reply. I didn't feel the need to. There was no anger left in me, and no satisfaction either. Just distance. I slid the phone into my pocket as Hannah stepped outside and sat beside me. "Bad news?" she asked. "Old news," I said. She studied my face. "You look lighter." "I am," I answered. I thought about the first night on that rooftop, her face lit by the phone, the quiet laughter that didn't belong to me. That was where the story had cracked open. Back then, I had stayed silent because I didn't know my next move. Now I was silent because there was nothing left to say. That evening, I went home and pulled open a drawer in my small kitchen. Inside was the last thing I carried from that marriage, a folded copy of one of those messages I'd printed for the package. I had kept it like proof, like armor. I looked at it once. Then I tore it into pieces. No fire, no ceremony, just paper returning to nothing and finally meaning nothing too. I dropped the pieces in the trash and closed the drawer. Later, as I lay on my bed, I realized the truth of it all. Sending that box hadn't given me peace. Walking away had. The real revenge wasn't ruining Denise. It was building a life she could no longer touch. Thank you for watching.